welcome to the MacPack.
We're back.
Boys, plenty to discuss on this week's episode of the podcast. We're incredibly excited to welcome Mr. Matt Okine to the pod.
Big guest alert.
Big guest alert indeed. Matt, most people would know Matt from Triple J, where he hosted The Breakfast Show with Alex Dye.
Yes, Matt and Alex.
He's also an elite stand-up comedian. We've been fortunate enough to go and see him a handful of times.
That's
and
right.
we also get the pleasure of watching him at home. And that's not a weird thing to say. Because he's got a Stan TV show called The Other Guy. Plus, he now has Mother and Son, which he's doing with Denise Scott on the ABC.
And he's also just a great bloke.
He's a fantastic guy. This episode was actually incredibly funny. He actually won funniest person on the pod.
Which is tough.
Which is tough to do when you got three handsome, funny boys like us here, but he's bloody gone and done it. It's a massive episode. It's arguably one of our favourites we've ever done, so we'd love to introduce you guys all to Matt Okine. Let's get into it. Boys,
Flamingo.
how are we all? Are we all well?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. I'm very excited for this upcoming guest episode.
Matt Okine joining us here on the MacPack. Very excited. We mentioned off the top, Matt is obviously an ex-Triple J presenter. That's how most people would know him.
Yeah.
I must admit, I didn't listen to much Triple J. I fell in love with Matt over a dinner one night. Via his comedy. His stand-up comedy. Been watching him and listening to him do stand-up for many a year. I think 2015 might have been the first time we actually went and seen him, but I think I was watching stuff prior to that, which dates me at how many years? That's 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's like 17, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt's been like a big inspiration for I think myself and the show, and like the way he utilizes storytelling as a form of comedy.
He is out and about. Like, we see a lot of stand-up comedians. He's by far the best storyteller of the bunch.
100%.
Some are funnier per se, but they're doing it in a very different style.
Yeah, his
I value
shows
his
are always very
storytelling.
rich.
Yeah.
You get a full experience
almost
rather than just
yeah.
jokes.
It doesn't feel like a comedy show. It feels like he's just telling you a story.
I think
more
that
like one-man show.
Yeah.
that must come from like the radio expertise of telling those very stories.
Yeah, and the acting background.
Yeah. But no, he's absolutely fantastic. He's been a massive inspiration for what we've done in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Especially with the podcast. But he's very much a jack of all trades as well. Like, as I mentioned, he's done comedy.
Yeah, what can't he
he's
do?
done TV. He's done radio.
Makes music.
He does triple.
Yeah, we didn't even talk
Yeah.
about it.
He does Boilermakers
Yeah.
music, which we noted,
out.
but we never actually mentioned in the upcoming chat. And he's a triple jumper. So like, he's got all. That's the big four, isn't
It's
it?
a triple threat. A triple drop threat.
And even in relation to the way he takes you on like his stories aren't just about comedy. Even in this show, we do get to some
It gets
deeper
real.
topics as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, because he as you'll listen, like, he had a couple of tough situations sort of thrown upon him before he even reached high school, which we get into in the podcast, which is, I think, a lot of people might not know necessarily about that.
Yeah.
I don't know how
especially
much
if
he
you only
talks
know him
about it
from
on
the
radio. Yeah.
And it does.
Obviously, in like a lot of the creative stuff that he's done when he talks about his life in comedy shows and in the TV series, and even in his book. We didn't even mention his book.
Yeah.
It's too much to mention.
That's just like all the sort of, that's the rawer stuff, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So he addressed on a fair amount of that, and how he basically can compartmentalize
Yeah.
these different stories, these different feelings, and then still be able to produce such fantastic work.
Yeah. Plays into the whole tragedy is comedy.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic chat. It was hilariously funny. If you've listened to the 31 Qs, you'll know just how funny it is. If you haven't listened to that, I urge you to go back and listen to that first, because that gives you a perfect little lead in to the episode with Matt Okine. We're incredibly stoked to have Matt join us. And if you guys enjoy the chat with Matt, even like a tenth of the amount that we enjoyed it, we'll consider that a massive win. Boys, ladies and gents, this is Matt Okine. All right, Matt Okine, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I just went to the Brisbane Kite Festival, which, dudes, I got to tell you, this is some shit that you start doing when you become a parent. And I honestly thought, like, the Brisbane Kite Festival, I was like, man, this is going to be like this dinky little thing in a park somewhere. We'll roll up for a bit and then, go home after an hour. This shit was like Woodstock. Like, it was just, like, I was like, there was the traffic lineup to get into this park to go to this festival. I was like, what? How? Who are these secret kiters out here that like are frothing for this festival? It was so busy. But anyways, it was nice to be a part of it. And we didn't end up flying a kite, but we saw lots, so that was good.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll just get into a bit of who you are and what you're all about. You were obviously born in Brisbane. Can you tell us a little bit of how life was when you were growing up as a young kid?
Yeah, Brizzy was great. Like, I loved it, and I still love it. That's why I moved back. My parents separated when I was 7, so sort of lived in 2 separate houses. Was really good at. I was a good goalkeeper, a really good goalkeeper growing up, but I couldn't kick the ball. I swear I would have been an international goalkeeper, but I literally couldn't do goal kicks. Like, it's so embarrassing. Anyways, all the other stuff I was great at. So yeah, I lived in separate houses, and then my mum died when I was 12. I was Dux in my primary school, went to Brisbane State High, had a boy band in Brisbane State High called 4.1. We won the Brisbane State High School talent competition.
Shout out.
Yeah, that's right. 4.1 represent. We won $100. $100 for that competition.
How'd you split that? How many people were in the band?
Well, that was 5 of us.
$20 split?
And well, there'd actually been graffiti around the school the weekend before we won, and so in front of the school assembly, we decided to donate half of the winnings back to school to clean it up. Help clean up the school. And then we spent the other $50 on homebrew bourbon for schools. So, we were a band for the people. And then I started doing. Then I did studied a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting.
Yeah, nice.
So that's where it all started, really.
Yeah, cool.
There you go. Most people know you from the Triple J show you did with Alex Dyson. How'd you get into radio? And obviously you've got a current podcast. How's that all going?
Yeah, I mean, it's good, man. I never thought I was going to do radio because, like, I was old by that stage. Like, Triple J is something I grew up listening to. And I was, like, 29 when, I got the call up. So, like, Tom and Alex had been, 18 and 20 when they started or something like that, 19 and 21. So, there I was at, 27, 28. And I was like, man, that's long gone. That's past. And so I'd done a bunch of stand-up gigs around that time. So I'd won a couple of awards in Melbourne and Sydney at the festivals. I'd gone to Edinburgh, got nominated for Best Newcomer Award. I'd supported some sort of some big guns like Aziz Ansari and I think Dave Chappelle by that stage. And anyway, I guess they'd just generated some sort of buzz within the Triple J community and the people who were looking at talent, and I just became one of the people on their radar. And so when I got the offer, I actually didn't. Honestly, there's a couple of things, and I've talked about this before, but there's a few moments in life where I believe that the Matrix, there's been a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, right.
And one of them was when I got arrested out the front of this nightclub one night, and this bouncer kind of choked me out and squashed me on the ground until I passed out. And I remember thinking I think I'm going to die. And I'm sure that's a very natural response when someone's choking you out. But I remember thinking I'm going to die. And then a little part of me thinks I did die in that moment. And then I sort of just reset like Sonic does when he falls off onto the spikes or something. And so, and then one of the other times is when I said yes to Triple J, because I remember driving home thinking as soon as I get home, I'm going to say no, because I had this other stuff going on overseas, and I was thinking I was going to do this. I've been, meeting all these big agents and stuff after the Edinburgh nomination. So yeah, I remember thinking I'm going to say no when I get home, and then I don't remember saying yes, but I did. So it's honestly really strange. I just don't know. I don't remember the conversation. I don't remember any of it.
Wow,
but anyways,
that's wild.
It happened. And I'm really glad it did, because it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, 100%.
So we knew you from Triple J, but the first time we saw you as a comedian was in 2015 when you did The Other Guy. So how did you get into comedy because obviously you did acting and stuff. What was the transition?
Did you guys see that show live?
Yeah, 100%. We've been fans for years, man.
That's mad. That's so good. Did you see it at the Perth Festival or did you go to Melbourne?
No, Perth.
Perth, yeah.
Oh, rad. Yeah, I love that show. So I was doing the acting degree, and part of the acting degree was a stand-up comedy module, and so I thought, I'll jump ahead and try and get sort of ahead of the game. So I entered in raw comedy, and I did my first heat and I'd never even seen live stand-up before, like I'd never been to a comedy club, so I was like kind of weird. Did my first heat and then won that, and then I did the semi-final and I won that, and then I went to the national final and I came second. But then they took me... No, then I went to the state final and I came second. But then they took me to the national final because they discovered that the person who won had kind of copied his set off someone. He'd ripped the whole set off.
Right.
And so then I went to the national final and I bombed so bad. Man. It was like, still like the worst gig of my life. Yeah, and I'll tell you why I bombed. It's because this guy called Nick Sun, right, is this...
Shout out.
Why? Do you know Nick Sun?
No.
You're just throwing him under the bus.
No. He won. He won the national that year. He won the national final that year. And he did this set, right, that was hilarious. It was so funny. It's like... Because... He's Chinese and he was talking about basically he's real deadpan. He walks out and he's like, yeah, I'm Chinese. I eat dog. My mum says sucky, sucky, $2, whatever. Ha ha ha. Right. And people are losing it because he's just like tearing apart bad ethnic comedy. And he's just like, and everyone's just losing it because it's so funny. But I couldn't hear what he was saying. So I was like, man, why is everyone laughing so much? And he was just like, yeah, another ethnic comedian doing this, blah, blah, blah. Just tearing apart ethnic comedy. And then everyone's loving it. And I'm like, damn, this guy must be funny. And then it's my turn to come out. And all I had was ethnic comedy back then. Right. So I'm like, I walk out like, hey guys, what's the deal with being black? And everyone's just like, the fuck? Do I not hear anything? And so then I'm just doing my whole, hey, I'm black. And people were just like dead silent. And I was like, what the fuck? I came off stage that night and didn't know anything until 3 months later when they televised the performances on ABC. And I finally saw Nick Sun's performance. I was like, oh my God. So from that moment on, I kind of tried to avoid doing too much ethnic comedy because it was pretty embarrassing.
Well, that's fair enough. As Joe mentioned, we saw you in 2015. The other guy's still arguably, we see a lot of comedy, but it's still arguably my favourite.
And we've seen every show he's done since.
Yeah, but we see heaps, and it's by far my favourite set of anyone's. Vividly remember, there was a certain period where there was actually people crying in the seats because it gets quite emotional. It actually takes you on a bit of a journey, which outlines basically when your partner at the time cheated on you with your best mate. How do you sort of tell such a gut-wrenching story in such a setting to still make it both funny and heartwarming at the same time?
Well, it's kind of, for me, it's like, well, what else are you supposed to do? Spend heaps of money on therapy and not make any money? It's just weird to not...
Capitalize.
It's just weird, you know what I mean?
It's an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, it's just all I really ever do when it comes to stand-up is just talk about what the most interesting things that are happening to me or happening in the world are. So I always just think, whatever it is, it could be big, it could be small, but if it's the most interesting thing that's happening to me or happened to me, then I just talk about that. So, without a doubt, that was just the biggest thing that was happening in my life. I could not stop thinking about it.
That's fair.
So all my comedy revolved around, when you're lying in bed and you're just thinking about what am I going to do? How does this work? what happened? And blah, blah, blah. Things were just, that was just forming in my head. So I always will just talk about that. I'm not scared of that. And also it was I don't know, I feel like there's this idea that it should be a shameful thing, that people had deceived you and therefore you're not supposed to talk about it, or you should be embarrassed, or that you've done something wrong. That's why they did it. But I don't know, people do shit for all sorts of reasons. I just tried to tell my perspective and story on it, and I'll always continue to do that. So yeah, no, it was good. And look, and I think that most people related to it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, a lot of people related to it, and yeah, and I just think it's you know, because there were so many people who were like, "Hey, that's happening to me," or "That's happened to me."
Yeah.
And it's so good to hear someone else talk about it, or someone that you know they've seen in the media to say, "Hey, yeah, it's happened to me too."
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so we obviously loved that show. I would love to see an encore edition of it at some point in the future. But also, you took it one step further and turned it into your show on Stan. What was the process of taking a stand-up show and switching it over to like TV as a medium?
Yeah, it's hard. Making TV is like really hard compared to stand-up, because the best thing about stand-up, and it's the best thing that you guys have got going on with your podcast right now, like it will not get better for you than it is right now, where it's just you guys doing whatever the hell you want and you don't have to answer to anyone.
Yeah.
And that is what stand-up is. It's like, I only have to answer to the audience. They're my critics. They're the people who I care about the most. They're my investors. And so all I really care about is making them happy. As soon as you start getting commercial interest involved, suddenly it's, you know, and commercial investors involved, then suddenly it just changes everything. So I was really shocked when I first made TV at how many cooks there were in the kitchen, and how many people, because and rightfully so, they're investing millions of dollars in you. You know, they're literally, you can't say, hey, can I have $4 million to make a TV show, and then expect to be able to do whatever you want, because, you know, you're going to fuck it up. Like you just don't know what you're doing. So they have to be there all the time. So everyone's always invested, and you know, making sure that you're doing the right thing. So it was just eye opening at first. I've gotten more used to it now, and I really like it now. But at the beginning, it was a big shock. But also it was kind of funny. Like there's moments where like we're making the show, like the other guy, it's like I had to audition my dad to play the role of my dad. Yeah. And he didn't get the role, you know, which is like kind of, that was tough, you know. Because to be fair, he did a terrible audition. Like he was like reading out the actions and stuff. And like, he's like, okay, now I hand you the nose spray, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I wrote that's in the script. You don't say that bit, Dad. and so he had to get it.
Dad,
so I was like, Dad, you know, yeah. So I was like, you know, I had to not give my dad the role. I mean, that was rough. He's still pretty angry about it. He reckons I didn't give him enough time. It's like, bro, we would have needed years for this. So I gave you 36 years to be ready for this role, and you didn't get it. So, anyways,
one of the best characters on the other guy of the show is Dog Murphy, who is played by Briggs, who is appearances like Rat Gillies. Obviously. Yeah. Are you going to unpack who Rat Gillies is and the criticism he's given you over the years?
Yeah. Okay, so Rat Gillies, man. Rat Gillies. I haven't seen Rat Gillies for a while. Rat Gillies around about 2015, there was just like, I remember I just like anything I posted on Instagram, this guy called Rat Gillies would just comment underneath it and just say, bald. And I remember when it first happened, I'm like, oh, okay. And then like any other time I posted, it'd just be like bald, going bald, hey baldy, hey you 8-ball. You know, like, you know, calling me like the Mighty Ducks flying V and stuff like that. You know, calling me the McDonald's sign, all this sort of shit. I'm like, bro, who is this guy? Who's this like 20-year-old kid from Tasmania just ripping into me anytime I posted stuff? And so yeah, like I included it in my show, in the stand-up show.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months later, And I used him as like quite a big sort of like, he was like a punchline in the show, like quite a big callback and everything. So he was almost like a crucial part of my show. So at a while there, I felt quite indebted to Rat Gillies because his heckling of me or his trolling of me actually became a very valuable part of my stand-up show that I was able to construct. So I was actually at the end quite thankful of Rat Gillies for bullying me. And then one day he got in touch with me and he's like, hey man, I know that I've been, paying you out on Instagram for the last year or so, calling you bald all the time and blah, blah, blah. But just want to have some real talk now. A friend of mine's brother has took his own life. And my friend has started up a foundation called Stay Chatty, right? And it's Tasmanian-based, not-for-profit, and they want to talk about men's mental health and talk about depression and the things that can happen that lead people to taking their own life. And there's actually a fundraiser that's happening in Hobart, and I've told my mate that I'll ask you whether you can go down and do stand-up there for the gig. And at first I was like, Rat Gillies, you're a bully. You've been bullying me. You want to talk about depression? Man, I'm depressed about my hairline because of you, bro. But then I was like, nah, look, I did feel quite indebted to Rat because he had been a crucial part of my stand-up show. So I was like, fine, let's do it. So I went down there and did the gig, and I bombed so hard. I was like, I can't believe you set me up for this shit, Rat Gillies. Like, I sucked so hard. There's this huge room, this big conference room right on the water in Hobart. It should have been beautiful. Not a single person listened. The whole crowd was just talking. I'm standing there. I had to go back and sit down at the table next to Rat Gillies. He was like, man, that was no good. I'm like, shut the fuck up, Rat Gillies. I don't need this shit from you,
Oh, that is awesome.
So yeah, no, Rat Gillies is... So we turned Rat Gillies into a character called Dog Murphy, and I was very much thankful to ask to get Briggs to do it because Briggs actually trolls me all the time as well. So it was kind of like, art imitating life, imitating art.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and your 2017 Melbourne Comedy Gala set. This is my favourite bit you've ever done. It's the Australia Day bit.
I reckon personally, we should make Australia Day the last Wednesday of April every year. That's just me, all right? This year, the last Wednesday of April is the 26th of April. Oh, that's the day after Anzac Day. Oh, shit. Cheeky doubleheader. Next year, the last Wednesday of April is 25th of April. Oh, that's Anzac Day. Oh, shit. Doubleheader. Year after that, last Wednesday of April, 24th of April. That's the day before Anzac. You see where I'm going here, okay? And then there's, a few shit years after that, all right, fine. But you wait until the year 2038. Oh, my God. Yeah, the year 2038, Easter lands on the latest date it can possibly be, where Easter Sunday is 25th of April, Anzac Day. So you get Good Friday, you get Easter Saturday, you get Easter Sunday, which is Anzac Day, you get Easter Monday. Anzac Day can't be the Monday, moves to the Tuesday. What comes next? Last Wednesday in April, motherfucker. 6 in a row, baby. Yeah. It's a long play, but when it pays, it pays. My name's Matt Okine, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.
Honestly, especially at that time, and even now, it's like such a political issue to talk about. And I was like amazed at how well you did it and how well the crowd reacted to talking about it. So I want to figure out how you kind of broached such a political topic and how you went around that. And then also how you did the math, and did you actually figure out like the whole public holiday scenario?
So it's funny because the more what happens when you're doing stand-up is you think about the idea, and then usually you'll get a joke. It's a baseline joke, and that's what the standard. The first joke is always the worst joke. You sort of got to scrap that first joke and keep on digging and figuring out the best sort of angle, the most interesting angle. The problem with talking about Australia Day is I think we should change the date. That's my personal opinion. I don't particularly care what anyone else thinks. That's my opinion is this, and I've got to sort of be true to my opinion when I'm talking about it on stage. I also do need to respect other people's opinions, even if I think that they're absolutely garbage. I need to respect that everyone has opinions. And I'm not saying that anyone who doesn't think we should move the date is garbage opinion. I'm just saying if any opinions out there, you kind of have to respect it in some way, even though in here I don't necessarily have to respect them at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So approaching a topic like Australia Day, you know that people are going to be instantly annoyed if they even hear the topic, right? Because they don't want to be preached to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's always trying to figure out the best way to actually talk about a topic without people immediately turning off. And everybody loves not working. So that was really the sort of
The common
the
denominator.
way that
yeah.
I was looking at it. You
Yeah.
know, it was like, whether you agree with moving Australia or not, we can all agree that working sucks. So how do I get my point across via the collective laziness of this country?
Yeah.
And that was the kind of angle that I went with. And it's funny because I stopped doing it. I stopped doing that piece because I did it on the gala, and then you're always worried about burning it in the show. So like burning it ahead of your show. So
Yeah.
I stopped doing it as part of the show, which is a shame because not that many people will have seen it. And so I'm glad that every sort of year it does make the rounds again, because it is a piece that I am really happy with being able to get my point across, but also make it pretty accessible to everyone.
No, 100%.
Did you do the math, or like did you read an article
Oh
about
fuck
that?
yeah. No, I had to really do the math. I got the calendar out. I had like the lunar calendar out and shit. I was like looking at everything like every year. And I went year, every single year trying to figure out when would be the one until I got it done. So yeah, I guess in a way I'm a researcher as well. You know? I'm an academic. I'm an academic and a comedian.
Because like when I watched it, and even you can hear in the crowd, like they're applauding the comedy, but they're more like
The logic.
Yeah, it's like holy
I know,
shit,
they're
this
like,
guy's done
damn,
his
that
shit.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Why are we having it on this day? Let's do it then. Nah, for sure. And that's when you know you've got like, I guess, a unique joke. It's like I did sit there for ages figuring that out. And I
Yeah.
don't think that people would have looked at that angle the way that I did. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, that's fair. In 2019, you released a book, Being Black and Chicken and Chips, which tells the story of Mike Amon, who's obviously based on yourself, and the way that he dealt with the grief and the battle of his mum passing away at the age of 12. You've been pretty open with how you've spoken about your mother in other interviews, post then, obviously. As a young kid at the time, how were you able to deal with it?
I mean, I didn't deal with it. Well, I didn't deal with it until I was 18. I just like squashed it and pretended that nothing could hurt me. And then when I was old enough to start going to parties, I would just like, you know, drink heaps, get into fights with anyone who tried to hurt me. You know, like it was just that big macho, nothing can hurt me kind of thing. And in reality, I was obviously very wounded. So it was, you know, I didn't handle it the best way that I should have, but I handled it the way that I did, and I'm not ashamed of that. It's just that's what the support was for me at the time, and that's what the conversations weren't like they were now. You know, there wasn't like, hey, let it out, everything's okay, go see someone, it's all good, mental health's really important.
Yeah.
There was none of that shit. It was like, boys don't cry, crush a can on your head and fucking go out there and grab a rugby ball, you know? Like, so it was like, I just did what I did. So yeah, putting it in the shows and everything was like a scary moment for me. And I remember crying writing the show, the first show. But I mean, all that stuff is like, I don't know. I find that's the best stuff when you're upset or you're scared about telling people things. You kind of know that you're onto something good.
Yeah.
And it still happens. Like you think, oh God, I'm really ashamed of this, or I'm really embarrassed about this, or whatever. But that's the stuff that you know that people are going to connect with the most, because everyone walks around with shame and embarrassment and, you know, fear in their heads and stuff. So when you kind of tap into that yourself and are willing to share that, then people, I think, connect with it the most.
100%.
That was a very, that was a very technique-based approach to it, I guess, but that's just that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I never know whether people are interested in actually the process or the story, because I like both. They're kind of both important. So yeah. Anyways, that was a bit of both.
Lovely.
Yeah. And obviously you have touched on pretty serious emotional stuff in your work. Do you find writing through it helps you process it, particularly things that happened when you were younger? Does it change your perception on the events?
It makes you look at it from more angles. So having to think about, when you're writing a book, you're looking at it from different perspectives, because you have to see the world through all the characters' eyes. And so suddenly when I was writing the book again, I was also waiting to have a baby, my first baby, with my partner. And I say first baby and what I actually mean is my only baby. I don't have any other babies, so I don't know why I put a number on this one. And so I was, as soon as I became a parent, then that sort of suddenly started making me go, holy shit, what would happen if I died and this person would be without me? And I'd know what would happen, and I would hate for them to have to go through all that. So it was a little bit, that was a big eye-opener, realizing of seeing it from my parents' perspective from the first time, when I'd only ever seen it from a 12-year-old's perspective.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it's terrifying. I see people now, like I'm getting to the age now where friends are, they're not starting to die, but it's not the most unusual thing to happen where a friend is getting a bad, cancer or getting hit by a car or something, and they're leaving kids behind. And it's like, holy shit, it could happen. That's why I'm terrified that my heart's going to stop beating one day, I did it just plays into my head, all that sort of stuff, that sudden fear. And I think the understanding that things can just turn to shit at any moment, because what happened to me was so like, my mum got a headache one day and then collapsed in the shower 2 weeks later, and then died 3 weeks later. It was like, you just realize that there's never a day where I don't think, well, this could all fucking fall apart.
Yeah.
That's the sort of shit that just it permeates your thinking. So I'm always kind of cautious in that way.
Yeah, cool. Like most young blokes, we're massive fans of our mum. We actually finish every single episode we've done with a line saying, "Go give your mum a hug." I'd like to ask what your favorite memory with your mum is.
I liked making her laugh. I think that making her laugh was probably the reason why I had the confidence to get into the comedy game. And also the Eck is on, the Brisbane Ecker at the moment. And I used to go with her to the Ecker, and that was always a highlight of my year. Even when I vomited on the Gravitron, she always made me feel good, and it made it a fun time. So yeah, no, it was just going on trips and things like that was the best. Yeah, it's really weird. It was so weird. I went to the Echo with my daughter just the other day, and it was the first time that I'd been back in about 20 years. Probably, one of the first times I'd been back since I'd been with my mum. And I took it, and my daughter had they've got these strawberry ice creams that you can only get at the Echo. And I took a photo of my daughter with her strawberry ice cream, and it was so weird because in my head I thought, oh, I'll send this to mum, and I haven't thought about that. I haven't made that kind of mistake in my head for so long that it was kind of a real eye opener, I guess, to what that event means to me as a connection to her. So in a good way, it was really nice, but in a sort of bittersweet way, it was like a realization that that's probably those are the sort of things that I'm re-levitating to as a parent now.
Yeah, that's really nice. Did you notice that your relationship with your dad improved or got closer when you lost your mum?
I mean, we butted heads big time. And that's because I was like a shithead teenager who was trying to block up all the sort of emotions and basically just wanted to do whatever I want, go out, smoke weed, drink booze, go to parties, just what I was just doing that. And that's all I really cared about. I didn't care about school. I didn't really care about, I remember he went fishing one night, and I remember he went fishing just for one night. He's a single dad at this point. He's had to look after me for, 4 years. This is about year 11. He just wants to go fishing for one night. And so he goes fishing, and then I had a party. Like I had a party at my house, and I wouldn't say that it was like Corey Worthington style levels, but like someone started like a bonfire in the backyard. They threw my bicycle into it. Someone got a graffiti, like a Nico pen or a Sharpie, and graffitied like a whole bedroom wall, like top to bottom of like their tag, like little tag, over and over again, right? In Sharpie, in actual Nico, right? My friend had only eaten twisties that entire day. In fact, and this I included this story in the other guy, the original other guy. But my friend had only eaten twisties all afternoon, and then just slammed heaps of goon with cask wine with orange Fanta in it. So it's like, and then he vomited in my bedroom on the carpet, and like, bro, we know how orange twisties are, and we know how orange Fanta is. Like, this was an orange that no one had ever seen before. It was like the most intense orange. And he just spewed all over the carpet, but we didn't clean it up for like 2 days, like for the whole day. So it just stayed there overnight. And when we finally had to woke up the next morning to clean it up, the orange, it had seeped into the carpet, and there was just this big orange patch on the carpet. Someone took one of my dad's a dentist, and someone took one of my dad's dental gloves from the plastic gloves that they have, and then shat into their hand. Did a shit in their hand, like into their glove, and then wrote "fuck you" on the neighbor's car, and then left it in the letterbox, like a glove with shit in it in the letterbox, and so.
This is pretty Corey Worthington. You said it
yeah,
wasn't, but it's getting close.
I woke up the next day and I was like, holy shit, I'm in so much trouble. And so I remember my friend was going to go watch like a local Queensland Reds game or something. And I was just like, yep, I'm coming along. And I just left. I didn't clean up or anything. And my dad came home from his one fishing trip. Like, God, he just wanted to go fishing once, and saw all this graffitied walls, bonfires, bikes in it, shit written on cars, and I honestly can't believe that he stood by me after, moments like that. So we've since come a long way, and we've developed a really great relationship. But yeah, it was only due to his patience and understanding through quite a tumultuous period of my life.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What do you think you'll be like as a dad, or what are you like as a dad? How are you enjoying fatherhood at the moment?
I love it. I love it a lot. But I can't really say no. So it's kind of difficult, because I'm like, my daughter wants something and wants to do something fun. It's really, I'm like, sure. Why am I working? Why am I working if I'm not going to do fun things for you or buy you things and stuff? So I've kind of got to get a little bit better at saying no and disciplining her, because I don't want to create a monster. But also, as a parent, you sort of, at this stage, my partner and I work very well alongside each other. It's a real partnership. So there'd be a lot more days where I would just be like, yes, we can watch TV all afternoon and eat chips and nuggets. And I'm totally okay with that. And of course you can go to bed whenever you want, but that's not healthy. And so it's good to have someone who is smart opposite me to go, no, you can't do those things because that's not healthy. And then I'd be like, oh yeah, it isn't healthy. Listen to your mum. You can't do that. Sorry. And then we go on. So yeah. So you need, it's good to have a good business partner when it comes to managing the asset that you have, which is a small living, breathing ball of flesh.
I love it. Speaking of partnerships, you're obviously pairing up with Denise Scott for the new remake of Mother and Son, which airs on the 23rd of August. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's big. It's exciting. People are mad though, hey? I didn't realize how much people would be angry. I sort of thought that people would be mad, but people are so angry about it.
Because it's a remake?
Yeah, because it's a remake. Because it's a classic show. It's the best, greatest, most loved Australian comedy of all time. So, I completely get that people are annoyed. But yeah, I find it really funny, some of the responses. I remember I was on Twitter the other day because Ruth Cracknell, who played the original mother in Mother and Son, had was trending, and I was like, oh, wonder why Ruth's trending. And then I click on it, and I'm like, oh, it's because people hate me right now. And they're all angry because of the show that I'm making. And so then it was like, it was kind of funny because this great exchange was like, this person posted, Gary McDonald and Ruth Cracknell were brilliant in the original Mother and Son. I don't know why ABC would remake this Australian classic. The original was so good. They should just rerun the original, right? To which someone underneath just said, the original series is on ABC iView right now. Then the original poster under that wrote, I'm 76 years old with a full-on work and fitness regime. I don't have time for ABC iView. I never have and I never will. It's like that's what I'm up against. It's like someone going, they should play the original, and then someone going, they do, and him going, I have no interest in that. Okay, like,
you're never gonna win. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of funny,
and this is all without it coming out yet.
I know, so that's it. People haven't even seen it, and they really hate it. So it's like, I don't mind. I really love it. I really love what we did, and I'm very proud of the show that we made, and I think that as soon as people give it a chance, they'll like it. Like I never set out to make bad things, and I have so far, I believe, been pretty good at figuring out what quite a wide range of people will like. So I don't know why they think that this won't be applicable to that. So I mean, yeah, we'll just see.
Well, there you go. We've been a huge fan of everything you've done, so we've got absolutely no doubts that we're going to enjoy this just as much. We're very thankful for you for coming to join us here on the MacPack. We actually came and saw you in Perth when you did your book festival.
This isn't the first time we spoke, Matt.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've come and seen you. We came when you were in Perth. You did like a little bit of a seminar, a bit of a chat.
Yeah, it was at UWA for the Perth Festival. It was like you and a couple other authors.
That was like a month before COVID.
Yeah, it was like the last thing that we basically did before COVID hit. And we were the youngest people there by a country mile as well. Like there was a lot of older people there.
I know. It's book festivals are wild. And by wild, I mean the very opposite of wild. They're not wild at all. And but I appreciate you guys reaching out because I love the hustle. And you guys are patient with me getting back to you and everything.
No, you've been fantastic.
Joe, you took your time, and it was good. It was a very smart approach, and I appreciate that. So I hope you guys keep doing what you're doing because you guys have got good drive.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
Yeah, actually, at the back to the book fest, you're saying it's not very wild. So we rocked up. It was a Sunday morning. It was Jake's birthday.
The night before. Yeah,
he was out drinking till 3 a.m.
Love it.
We rocked up at the book fest. Obviously, it's pretty early because it's like the older demographic. We get there, and then Jake's not feeling great after the car ride, so he went and tack-yacked down some alley in UWA.
I reckon I'm the only person to ever tack-yak at a book week festival.
Oh, my God. I don't know. Some of those book festival fans are on the red wine at about 10 a.m. Hey, I reckon there'd be one or two others that could have left a few wet footprints next to yours. Man, that's great. Yeah, I'd get a badge for that if I was you. I'd have that on. I'd have that as an achievement, a life goal.
There you go.
Maybe at the book festival in the morning.
But yeah, you sobered me up. It was one of the nicest sobering ups I've ever been a part of, I must admit.
Well, good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Before we let you go, Matt.
I'm glad you've spewed before and not after. That would have been a bit insulting.
Yeah, or during. During would have been pretty bad.
Yeah.
During the middle of your chat. Before we finish up, with every guest that comes here on the MacPack, we give them a MacPack VIP cap, which...
pack.
I don't know if you're a fan of cricket, like they number all the hats, the baggy greens.
Yeah, mad.
So we've got the number 24. You're the 24th person to essentially come and be involved with the MacPack.
Yeah, dudes. So get that to me.
We'll flick it out. We know you love your hats.
You know I love a hat. And I need a new black hat, so get it to me now. I'm ready.
Raculi's got nothing on you.
Shit. This is all sweat lines and stuff. Man, I need a new fresh.
So yeah, we'll fling it out. Hopefully we see it on the TikTok or Instagram with Matt and Alex in the mornings on the.
I'll do that.
On the
I'll give you a shout out.
That'd be
no
huge.
Wozers at all.
Do you love hats more or less than you love Justine Schofield? Before we go.
I haven't seen Justine for ages. She had a baby, and I wanted to say like congrats, but then I'm like, is it still creepy if I'm like, Look at it, you Graham.
Just go on the
but
Instagram
yeah.
now and congratulate her.
I should, shouldn't I? I
Wait
will.
50
You know what? I will.
weeks. Wait 50 weeks, and then like and comment.
Oh my god! I'll wait till the kid will be like 15 years old or whatever, and then I'll still like I'll scroll down to Justine's very first baby photo. Congrats, Justine.
For those who
Shit
don't
like
know,
that.
Matt has a pattern, a bit of a history with Justine Schofield, where he accidentally liked one of her
It was a deep like.
Instagram photos from like.
It was a very deep like.
Was it like a year after the fact, wasn't it?
Bro, it was. Yeah, was it 52 weeks? I think it might have been.
So. It was something pretty big.
But it was also just because she was wearing a swimsuit in the show.
Is that why you liked it? Is that what you mean? Is that why you liked it?
There is an explanation for the whole thing. It was an accidental double tap. I was supposed to be liking a photo of her with her partner up at the time outside the opera house.
Well, from 50 weeks before.
My thumb slipped. Oh look!
But why were you
I
there?
don't need
Why
to
were you
go
down
back
that?
on trial for
Why
this
were
shit,
you
guys?
down that far? That's the question.
I don't need to go back on.
Such
Who are you,
a
Judge
long-
Judy?
Such a
Get outta
long way
here.
to scroll.
Get out of here! Oh man, this interview is over.
Oh my goodness, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're definitely a favourite of ours here on the podcast. You're an idol of ours, and we couldn't be more thankful for you joining us, Matt.
Riley, Jake, Joe, thanks guys. Really appreciate
It's
it.
been a pleasure,
You're
mate.
the best.
Cheers.
Till next time.
Matt Okine, hey?
Matt Okine. Hey.
Yes, bravo. Great interview, I thought.
Oh, thanks, man.
I thought all his answers were really good.
Oh, not necessarily the interview.
The questions were even better.
The truth comes out.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. So stoked to have him on the pod. That is, no, it's someone that I wouldn't have even thought was.
Gettable.
Yeah, like why
Yeah.
would he want to? But yeah, it's so
He's great.
so valuable to have him on the podcast. I
What a
just
guy.
fucking loved it.
Also, like that, and also in particular the 31 Qs. Just like he's effortlessly funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I was like, and when he was talking about the house party and stuff, like I was dying.
It's not even making jokes.
Yeah.
Just telling a
just fan-
story,
yeah, he's
and
so
he's
good.
not breaking like
No.
into laughter either. He's just like, I don't understand why you guys are laughing. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a story. No, fantastic. And obviously the podcast has been going for nearly 3 years now. If you had told me that we were going to get Matt Okine 3 years ago, I would have asked like, what leg would he like as, or liver, or
Yeah.
kidney would he like to receive as payment?
Well, yeah, like
Just
when,
a hat though.
when we met him, we'd been doing it for like 3 months.
When we met him, we hadn't been doing it.
Yeah, because we did it after COVID.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, fantastic.
There you go.
Absolutely unreal. Hope you guys all enjoyed listening to Matt Okine. He's an absolute superstar, and we can't thank him enough for being on the podcast.
Yeah.
Boys, until we do this time next week, stay safe, stay blessed, and always remember to
Go give your mum a hug.
It's ciao for now, but not forever.